My wife, Lila, and I, Alexander, have been married a long time, 30 years, and we lived together for 4 years before marriage. Both of us had been married and divorced before we met. I have a son from my first marriage, and Lila and I raised the boy. And now we've got a grandson. We're now in our golden years. I am 64 and she just turned 60. Neither of us have movie star looks. Layla is very petite with pixie-like looks and has the cutest rear I have ever seen in the body of a woman 20 years younger. My wife is precious to me, and I believe she is the most beautiful woman in the world. I love and cherish her, and I'm sure she feels the same way about me. It is evident in the way we care for and treat each other. We are best friends and confidants. So what is the problem, you might ask? My loving, caring, cherished wife is sleeping with other men. I say men, though it might be just one man, the one I caught her with. Let me give you a little background on myself and what has caused the problems I am facing. I am 64, average height, and a little overweight. I've had a heart condition for about 8 years and am taking several medications. Some of these medications have a side effect of being unable to maintain an arousal for an extended period of time. We are very loving to each other with a lot of kissing, hugging, and touching, but I am unable to perform a good old-fashioned screwing. There's the rub. My wife has always enjoyed intercourse, so for the past 8 years, she has had to rely on some toys. This was fine for a while, but apparently not for a steady diet. I am sort of retired. I have a small business that keeps me busy 2 or 3 days a week, but my wife is still working. Thank God. Don't know how we would have made it without her excellent salary and health insurance. The company she works for has meetings at least every quarter, sometimes more, and she sometimes has to travel to the district office for these meetings. She is usually gone for 2 or 3 days, flying out on Thursday morning and returning on Saturday morning. Once a year, there is a big district meeting to which the spouses are invited in. The company foots the bill. We fly out on Wednesday and return on Saturday or Sunday. Very nice. I go and play golf for 2 days while my wife goes to meetings. It was at one of the big meetings where I began to notice something was just not right. After checking into our room on Wednesday, we went down to the lobby bar to unwind and wait for dinner. The meetings and my golf would start the next day. We were sitting at the bar when one of her coworkers approached us. I hadn't met him before as he worked at the district office. He walked behind Lila, placing both hands on her shoulders and starting a gentle massage. Lila leaned forward to remove his hands and said, "Ethan, this is my husband, Alexander. Honey, this is Ethan Bennett. He is my counterpart at the district office." Ethan is a nice-looking man, around 6 feet and 200 pounds, and about 40 to 45. I shook hands with Ethan and said I was happy to meet him, and that Lila had emphasized what an excellent manager he was. Ethan said, "Pleased to meet you, Willie." I didn't aware that Lila's hubby was quite this elderly. "No wonder." "Excuse me," I said. "My name is Alexander. Who was my grandfather and what was his name? And I prefer not to disrespect his memory by shortening it. And what do you mean, no wonder?" "Oh, sorry. And nothing at all. See you all at dinner," he replied with a smirk on his face. After he went, I turned to Lila and asked, "What the heck was that about? He treats you like his property by putting his hands all over you, disrespects me, and made that comment. No wonder. What did he intend by that? Lila! What the hell is going on?" A shadow passed over Lila's face, and then she recovered and said, "Ethan was just awkward with people and didn't mean anything. And after all, he did remark he was sad his wife didn't come to this meeting, and he is just a little lonely. Forget about him and let's just enjoy our drinks and our dinner before going up to our room." I didn't want to let it go, but decided maybe I was just tired from the flight and was overreacting. However, it kept hovering in the back of my mind. We went up to our room and I gave my wife a sexy massage and ran a hot bath for her. While I was starting her bath, the phone beside the bed rang. Lila picked it up and I overheard the following. "What are you doing? Calling my room? Why were you so disrespectful to Alexander downstairs?" Yes, indeed, I can't wait much longer either, but we have to be careful. I don't want to damage my marriage, so you behave until tomorrow afternoon. Okay, Ethan. As she came into the bathroom, I asked who was on the phone. She said it was the front desk, wanting to know if everything was okay in the room. Was there anything we needed? He is the son of a bitch. She lied right to my face. He is the son of a bitch. How long are your meetings? Tomorrow. If you can slip away in the afternoon, I will give up golf and spend the day with you. Looking around the city, Lila answered. The meetings will last until approximately 5 twine, with drinks and dinner beginning at 6. Go ahead and enjoy your golfing experience. Now, I may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm not totally stupid and had a feeling there were things going on that I needed to check out. I informed Lila that my tea time was for tomorrow. I'll eat lunch at the course, and I should return to the hotel between 4 and 5. That will give me time to get ready for dinner. The next morning, Lila dressed in a nice business pantsuit and kissed me before leaving for her meetings, telling me to enjoy my game. Well, I didn't go play golf that day. I just left the hotel around 10 and drove around until about 1. I returned to the hotel, and as I walked into the lobby, saw a group of my wife's coworkers at the bar. The bar is an oval with service from all sides, and I sat in a sort of undercover spot and listened to the talk. I heard their plans for the afternoon. They also mentioned that some of the employees were throwing a party in the hotel's lounge's private room. One guy said they should be more careful, as some of them had their spouses along on this trip. One of the other men said Ethan had better cool it. Her husband is here. It's not the same as the quarterly meetings. One lady said it was different at the quarterly meetings because no spouses came to those and the people could party hardy. Of course, I had to check out this private party after the event at the bar yesterday and hearing Ethan's name. I strolled inside the lounge and proceeded to the entrance of the private room. The door wouldn't open and the bartender said it was locked for a private party. I walked over to the bar and laid a $50 bill down and asked, "Is there any way that the lock on the door had broken and didn't work properly?" He just smiled at me and picked up the money. "There is no way it broke, but I will unlock it for you. Give me 5 minutes." I got a beer and sat at a table for 10 minutes or so. I'm not sure how I managed to wait so long, but I got up and tried the door again. As I started to enter the room, the bartender said, "Be careful. I heard the guy say he used to box in the Golden Gloves. I promised him I wasn't going to cause any trouble. I just wanted to check out some things." I slowly opened the door and glanced around the corner. There were 3 couples in the room, all in varying degrees of undress. The couple I was looking for was behind a table in the poorly lit area. Ethan was sitting in a large recliner with Lila on his lap, facing him. He had his hands all over her body. Lila, my wife, best friend, love of my life, and soulmate, was having an affair with another man. I wondered if I was having a heart attack because I had a pounding in my chest and felt like I was going to throw up. I slowly began to feel better, but felt a tremendous white anger begin to surface. I always bring a digital camera on these trips to photograph the golf courses where I play, adjusting the setting for low light. I snapped several photos of Lila and that asshole Ethan. Then I slipped out of the room before they saw me. What do I do now? Should I run in and face them? Should I wait and get my revenge later? What? My friend the bartender looked up and apologized. "Dude, I assume that one of the ladies is your wife or girlfriend. I asked him when they came in and he said about 12:30 and asked for the private room. They have done this before. He said I looked like I could use a drink and I ordered a double bourbon. He said it on the bar and said, 'On the house.' I laid another 50 on the bar. Would you call my room when they leave?" He handed the 50 back to me and he said he would be pleased to. Went through the same thing myself around a year ago. I went back to my room to wait and received word around 4:00 that they were leaving enough time for her to clean up the aftermath of her afternoon delight. I assumed Lila didn't notice me as she rushed into our room. I was at the seating area of the room, which you can't see from the sleeping area. She began to change back into the trousers suit that was laying on the bed. I said, "Hi, honey." How was your meeting? Lila jumped about 1 foot into the air. Oh, are back already, Lila exclaimed. She looked a little red and quite nervous, and tried to hide that she was changing back into the trousers suit. Yeah. I hurt my back slightly and decided to call it a day, but I should be okay by tomorrow, I promised. I see you changed your clothing. I thought you looked very nice this morning when you left. Oh, I spilled something on the pants and changed between sessions. Have you already showered before dinner? She asked. Yeah, I'll go down to the bar and wait for you. See you in a bit. I got up and gave her a kiss and started toward the door. I opened the door and remembered I had left my card key on the desk. Closed the door and started back into the room. When I heard her on the phone, she was telling someone that I had returned early and that they would not be having another drink as planned, but that they could dance after dinner. Opening and closing the door very softly, I went down to the bar and ordered double bourbon and sat at a table. Lila came down to join me for dinner. A few minutes later, my pal Ethan passed by us to the bar and bought a drink. Hey, Ethan, why don't you join us? I suggested. He was apprehensive, but agreed and sat down at our table. Ethan and Lila have allowed me to show you the photos I took today while traveling. I placed the camera in front of them and began scrolling through the photos. I had booked the separate room before. Ethan, becoming increasingly disturbed and nervous, and got up to leave after the first 2 or 3 images. Lila had her head down with her face concealed and was crying and groaning. No, oh God, please no. Ethan then seemed to develop a pair of balls and responded, So what? She was there freely, and I don't think you can do anything about it, old man, unless you want these images to make it to your wife and your boss. You better sit back down. You son of a bitch, I told him. This is exactly what will happen, you pissant. And you might cheating bitch of a wife. You were going to tell me all about you two. How long? How many times where? And anything else I want to know. I may be older than you, but I can still defeat you, shithead. Now start talking. Okay. We meet for the quarterly meetings and have some fun. And once in a while at the big meetings like this one, Ethan offered. We've been meeting for approximately a year. At first, it was just a few drinks and some mild touching. However, we have had sex at our last 2 meetings. Lila sat there sobbing and wailing and didn't look up. She never said anything, just cried. Lila claims she is dissatisfied at home and wants to feel loved again, at least physically. Ethan continued. She's not in love with me or anything and simply wants to have some fun and a nice time. That is according to her. Come on, Lila. Tell him you were filth, shithead. I told him. A married man messing around with a married woman without concern to who it may damage. I hope you had a wonderful time, because it's going to cost you big time, I remarked. It is over and done. Understand? Ethan nodded so vigorously, he resembled one of those bobblehead dolls. I asked, Do you understand? He acknowledged his understanding and stood to leave the table. I rose. Ethan sprang up and kicked him in the balls. He went down like a fallen tree. That's only one example of what will happen if you ever see or speak with Lila again, outside of a business situation. I'll end your life as you know it. Now slither out of here, you piece of trash. One of the women at our table and said, You kicked the man in the crotch. Yes, lady. I tried as hard as I could. I may do it again in the near future. I took Lila's arm and walked her out into the corridor. Did you really think I was so stupid or senile that I wouldn't notice? Oh, no. No, please, God, she cried. Let me explain, Alexander. I adore you, but I am extremely frustrated by the lack of sex. The thing between Ethan and me was solely about sex. I was feeling old and unworthy. I know you can't have sex with me, but I felt like I wasn't attractive anymore, and it messed up my mind. Bullshit, Lila. It wasn't simply about sex. It was a full-fledged affair involving dancing, romance, kissing, hugging, and lovemaking. Not only sex, but lovemaking. Honey, I could almost understand your need for sex. We haven't had complete sex in about 7 years because of the medications I take, but Ethan, what a piece of junk. I can't believe you have bad taste. I paused briefly to gather my thoughts before continuing. What I can't forgive is your lack of regard for me. I mean, doing all of this, everyone in a company knows what is going on. Then I have to associate with the same individuals while unaware that I am the focus of ridicule, pity, or both. I now understand some of the looks and comments I received. Jesus, Lila, why didn't you shoot me? Lila looked at me and asked, where should we go from here? Please. I would do whatever to make it up to you and show you how sorry I am. I'm not sure where we go from here, Lila. There is a flight back home tonight at 9. Wow. I'll be on it. I understand how important it is for you to be present for tomorrow's morning sessions, but there is a flight out tomorrow at 1:30. It arrives around 3 at home. I'll be at the airport to pick you up. If you are present, we can go home and discuss our problems to see if we can resolve the situation. Lila started to say something, but I held up my hand to stop her. If you stay here with your party friends and do not board that plane, I will pack up and depart tomorrow night and everything will be over. It's your choice. Lila, I don't know if I can get around you playtime and your disrespect of me, but I am willing to at least talk about your actions and try to figure out what to do about us. Lila reacted with, please, Alexander, we can get past this. Please give me a chance. Okay, enough talking. I said, I'm leaving. See you tomorrow night. Or perhaps not. Good luck with your supper today and conference tomorrow. I don't think you'll do much dancing with Ethan tonight. Maybe tomorrow, but I do not think so. Lila ran over to me, apologizing and attempting to hug me, but I stepped back and raised my hand. Right this minute. I do not want to touch you. Leave me alone, I instructed her. She said, please don't go. We can go out to dinner and talk later and go home together tomorrow afternoon, please. I can't, Lila. If I see that a-hole again, I may kill him this time. I'm also very upset with the rest of your coworkers. A lot of them knew about this, and it is embarrassing for me to have to face them like nothing is going on. I'm leaving to catch that plane, and I guess I hope to see you tomorrow. I'm not sure how I feel right now. I only know that I hurt so bad. I'm not sure if I can stand it. My heart is beating, and I'm so angry I might kill someone. I exited the entryway we were standing in and walked to the counter to pick up my bag. The shuttle was waiting for me at the counter, so I headed to the airport. Perhaps the flight would relax me and allow me to work things out in my head. No such luck. The more I thought, the angrier I got. If Ethan had been on that plane, I would have opened the door and thrown him off. After I eventually got home, I had a couple more beers and thought some more. What shall I do? I have a comfortable lifestyle, and that would all change if I split with Lila. One factor that contributed to this lifestyle was Lila's job and the health insurance that came with it. I could make a living, but I would not enjoy my life nearly as much as I did with Lila. Was that lifestyle so important? My heart was broken because of Lila's disrespect for me and our marriage. Could I overcome the cheating and stay? I arrived at the airport the next afternoon. Passengers exited the plane and walked past my viewing area. Lila was the last one off. When I saw her, my heart grew lighter, and then I remembered. At least she was concerned about our marriage. She approached me and said, let's go home and talk. We really should talk. When we got home, Lila took a shower and then joined me in the family room. So what do you want to say, Lila? She looked down at the floor and then looked up at me. I'm sorry I hurt you. I did not want that to happen. Regardless of what you think. It was only for the sex. Yes, we danced and partied, but there was no love involved for Ethan or me. It was just a good time and a release for me of the sexual frustrations of the last 7 years before you began taking all those drugs. Our sex life was excellent. It was loving, exhilarating, and you would always find little ways to make it better and better. Lila broke down a little and stopped talking. For a minute or so, Lila gathered herself and proceeded. Then, all at once, everything was gone. I dealt with it for 6 years before reaching a breaking point 2 months ago. It would have been better if I had chosen someone in somewhere else, but it just sort of happened again. I am sincerely sorry you have been hurt. Please forgive me, at least for that. She hesitated and asked, "What are your plans?" "I need to leave Lila. I can't stay here. You said you were sorry I was hurt, but you never apologized. You screwed another man. How am I expected to live with that? The question is, how will I live without you? You have been my life for almost 30 years. Now all I have to do is walk away from all those memories and love. Your actions have killed all the feelings. I have to go, or I may die. Just like those feelings." Lila was crying again and said, "Why don't you stay at the house? I will move into the guest room, at least for now. If you leave and file for a separation or divorce, you will no longer be covered under my insurance. I still love you and don't want you to leave and get sicker without the health care you need. Please stay here at least for a few weeks," I thought. Why should I suffer because my wife is cheating? I'd done nothing wrong, so I chose to stay. Things got back to normal. Well, as close as they could. We were polite to each other but had very little interaction other than a few necessary conversations. Lila moved into the guest room and only came into my room to put away laundry and other routine things. We tried to stay out of each other's way whenever possible. I did start to drink some. Well, not some way too much. There were few nights that I was not even close to sober, and most mornings I started off with a drink. This went on for about a month. Then Lila asked me to sit and talk with her one night. Lila stated that you must quit drinking so heavily. It is extremely bad for you. What are you aiming to accomplish? Kill yourself? Not really. But why should you care what I do? The insurance would pay for the funeral, I responded. Then you may play with Ethan or any other sex helpers without me around to disrupt your fun. For the first time since confronting Lila, I wanted to hurt her over her infidelity. I saw anger across her face. "You asshole!" Lila screamed at me. "I love you, care about you, and worry about you more than anyone in your life, ever. If I didn't, I would not have subjected myself to this living hell we are in right now. What the hell is wrong with you? Why aren't you taking better care of yourself? Please talk to me and explain." "Okay, you asked for it. The one person in the world I truly trusted, the one I adored more than myself, the one person who's so much a part of me just screwed me over big time. Is I supposed to just accept it and not let it bother me? I can't stand it. I'm going nuts. Do I stay here? Because otherwise I may become ill and die. Do I do what any man with any pride would do and leave?" I was almost screaming by now. There are two reasons I am still here. One, I'm more afraid of becoming sicker and kicking off than I am of being a chicken. Two, and this is the most important one, I can't picture my life without you. In spite of what has transpired, I still adore you. But I do not know if I can go over what has transpired. That is why I am drinking. It helps numb my brain so I don't see what was going on in that private room. Now no more talks. Leave me alone. I entered my room and shut the door. Things would have remained the same, and I probably would have drank myself into the hospital. I couldn't get my mind around what had happened to my great life. And suddenly it was gone. I guess I would have stayed with the way we were living and not done anything. However, fate, the gods, or the devil decided that I had not been screwed enough, and they intervened in my little drama. Every week I played the Powerball lottery, just $5. I had never won anything at all. Then one weekend I checked the numbers and I won. Not just a little prize, but the whole shooting match for other tickets were sold with the same numbers, which meant the winners would share the big prize. My share was $12 million. Holy shit. $12 million, I could take the cash. Would have been roughly $6 million, or a yearly check of approximately $250,000 for 20 years. I put the ticket in my grandson's name, and I got my son to manage the money for me. That way, it would not be part of a divorce settlement if I choose to go that way. My son wasn't pleased with deceiving Mama, but he understood the circumstances and agreed to my demands. This money means I don't have to depend on Lila's insurance or salary anymore. I can leave without worrying about finances. So now that I don't have to stay? Do I stay? Do I salvage my pride and leave? I'm still not sure what to do. What should you do now? I had my son claim the prize in my grandson's name. I did this for 2 reasons. First reason, the reward is paid out in stages over 20 years. I may not live that long, but my grandson will. My son will see that I get most of the money every year until I'm gone. Second reason, with the time I won the lotto, I was still so upset with Lila that I didn't want her to get any of that money. I thought she might just kick me out and go running to her lover, Ethan. Her affair had seriously screwed with my psyche. After receiving the first check, I began to reflect more on my problem. I now had financial security, so this was no longer an issue. In spite of my anger and hurt, I thought of all our years together. The last few years had hardly been a picnic for either of us. Lila had never grumbled and had always been there to take care of me. I decided that I should split the money with Lila. It was only fair. She had botched up big time and hurt me deeply. But she'd been my best friend, lover, and wife for more than 3 decades. When Lila came home from work, I told her we had to talk about our situation. We went into the family room and sat on opposite ends of the couch. Lila, or rather, I can't continue like this. We have to decide how to handle this problem. I'm so mad all the time. And I mean every waking minute. This cannot go on. It's driving me totally crazy. I'm so sorry, Alexander. I never meant to hurt you, but I became so frustrated and felt so old and useless that I did a very stupid thing. The affair wasn't about love, just the sex and excitement of being wanted. Yes, we danced and made out and had sex. It was a way to relieve my sexual frustrations and make me feel attractive and wanted again. I am so very, very sorry to have wounded you. Please, let's get past this. We have many good years left to enjoy our family and each other. Please, Alexander, Lila nearly pleaded. Well, let me tell you how I feel, and then you tell me how we can get out of this mess you've created. You have never apologized for the affair, Lila, only that you were sorry I got hurt. How long would it have continued if I hadn't caught you, Lila? Would you have been sorry even if you hadn't been caught? I suppose you are simply sorry because you were caught, and that it was so public. As you can see, I still had some major anger issues. You say it was because of your sense of disappointments. Feeling elderly, feeling unwanted and unattractive for better than 30 years? I have told you every day that I love you. I never left the house without kissing you goodbye and kissing you hello. When I came back, you were complimented on how good you looked virtually every day. How can you feel unwanted and unloved after all of this? After pausing to calm myself a little, I said, I believe that if you had come to me and told me about how you were feeling, we could have taken steps to fix the problems. You didn't care enough about my feelings to discuss it with me. The solution you choose was to drop your panties and spread your legs. That was a terrible thing to do to someone you were deeply in love with. Again, the anger rose. Your screwing some asshole is hardly the worst thing you did. The worst thing you did was do it in such a public setting. Screwing some guy from work and in such an open manner shows how little you respect me. Most, if not all, of your coworkers knew about this little sex fest you were having. I wonder how much they laughed at me behind my back. Poor elderly dude can't keep his wife. Just fantastic. Lila. Lila sat with tears flowing down her face and screams wrenching her body. I no longer cared. I had enough. I am done. Alexander, please forgive me and let's get past this horrible thing, Lila said again. I love you and want us to stay together. Thank you, Alexander. Can't we just stay together? No. Lila, I am done. I have been there, done that, and got the stupid t-shirt. I am leaving you and will file for divorce tomorrow. The papers were prepared the first week we returned from the sessions. I will have to make a few tweaks to them, but they will be filed tomorrow. Lila was crying profusely. She sounded like her heart was broken. Well, why not? Mine surely was. Lila, could you please look at me for a moment? I inquired as she looked up. I told her we have married for 31 years. The first 30 would be graded from good to wonderful. The past year has been terrible. Despite the previous year and the wonderful years, I intend to do something noble and out of character for me. You know what a son of a bitch I can be when I'm crossed? I informed Lila that I had won the lottery big time and was going to split my money with her. I had the ticket issued in our grandson's name. This way, someone in the family will receive every penny I win. His father will deduct $50,000 from his yearly paychecks for managing the account. The remainder of the checks will be split evenly between you and I, Lila stated. I'd rather have you stay, Alexander. I had to pause for a moment when she said, if I really wanted to be vindictive, I would sue your employer and good old Ethan. I am sure there is some unethical behavior here. You, Ethan, and your company are all guilty as charged. I've decided not to sue. It would imply you would lose your job. At the very least, we've had far too many good years for me to be such an asshole. You may deserve it, but let God punish you. Okay, I am done. I'll be out of here when you return from work tomorrow. Do not call me. Don't try to see me. I do not want to know you anymore. Goodbye, Lila. I loved you so strongly that it almost ached. You have killed that, and now all I do is pain. The divorce papers were submitted, and Lila didn't contest it. She just signed it and ended her marriage. It will be finalized in about a week. By the way, someone sent some obscene images to my old friend Ethan's wife. She apparently didn't like them. She kicked Ethan out and divorced him, took him to the cleaners, and he stayed with Lila for a few months. I guess the thrill of doing something forbidden had passed. Either that, or Lila got tired of supporting him and kicked him out again. Shortly after, Lila and Ethan split up. Ethan was robbed and mugged during the incident. He was beaten quite brutally. Ethan broke his kneecap and will probably not be dancing much. One arm was broken, and he nearly lost a testicle. The police questioned Ethan's ex-wife and then questioned me. We both had airtight alibis. I was on my boat with my son and grandson on the lake near where I now live. I got a loan based on my share of the lottery winnings, about $2 million. I wanted some pocket money to play with. My days are spent at my lakefront home. I play golf, fish, and watch two attractive ladies sunbathe naked on the bow of my new yacht. It doesn't bother me that they are only there because of my money. At least I know what I can anticipate from them. There are no surprises there, simply good times. After thinking about it some, I changed doctors. The new guy tweaked my medicine, and I can now sustain an erection for longer than 5 minutes. No marathon sex parties, but I can pleasure a woman and myself now. Not more than once a day. But hell, that's a great improvement. It has been 2 years plus after my divorce. My wife was having an affair due to my lack of being able to have sex with her. That is the fundamental reason that she fed me garbage. Anyway, I changed doctors and medications, and the problem was resolved. Let me say here, my first doctor was focused with treating my cardiac problems and saving my life. Everything else was secondary. He is a decent man, and he did save my life. After a couple of years, I should have discussed my lack of sexual function with him and asked about changes. It is entirely on me that I allowed my sexual troubles go on as long as they did. I guess I was more concerned with living than with screwing. I can now satisfy both myself and my lover with my regular performance, not more than twice per day and not on consecutive days. This isn't the wild monkey sex I used to have, but I'm no longer a young man. I just turned 67. I won the lottery shortly after our separation and decided to split the winnings with my ex. I know what she did to me with her affair, and I should have told her to pound sand in my own defense. She had given me 30 wonderful years out of our 31-year marriage. She was my best buddy for the last 7 or 8 years. She was a saint except for the affair, and she looked after me well. My lottery winnings totaled approximately $600,000 per year. After paying taxes, paying my son to administer my accounts, and splitting my gains with my ex, I still had a very substantial amount of money to play with. So I played. I purchased a home on a lake in Southern California, got a great yacht to go with it, and just began to appreciate the money in my life. I played golf, drove my boat and one of my new Ford trucks, a tiny one and a huge one, and generally had a terrific day. This is how retirement should be. In addition to my toys, I usually seem to have one or two young lovelies staying with me. Not always the same ones. They seem to rotate in new ones. There's no doubt they were there for the money. I never paid them, but they received some really lovely items. Once in a while, money was given for clothes, trinkets, and shopping. These ladies, all between the ages of 25 and 35, were not in love with this old man. Let me be clear on this. I do not care. After the shit with my ex-wife, I wasn't looking for love. I just know I would rather play with my toys in the company of hot, sexy, and available women than by myself if they were there for the party. I was the host with the most. I was sitting on my patio, relaxing and observing the two nearly nude ladies sunbathing by my pool, when my son Lucas came around the side of the house to join me. A short word about my boy. He's also divorced. Different reason, the same result. He is a single parent, and he and my grandson were usually at my residence. My grandson enjoys the lake in the boat, while my son enjoys the girls. There were a couple of my girls that he seemed to have, well, at least lust for, but he never made any moves. I told him to go for it at least 3 times. He remarked he would feel strange following in his father's footsteps, if you know what I mean. Lucas came over, sat down, looked at me, and said, "I need to say something, but I don't want you to go crazy. So please listen to me before you say anything, okay, Pop?" "Go for it, Lucas," I said. "I'll try to keep my calm and my mouth shut until you are done. There are no promises after that. If this is another attempt to persuade me to return to Lila, you're wasting your time." "Pop, you have to meet and talk to Mama," Lucas began. "She's a basket case. She's losing weight. She looks like an old bag lady who doesn't appear to want to take care of herself." "Please, Pop, go see her." "Are you done?" I asked. He nodded his head. "Lucas, I appreciate your care and recognize your feelings for Layla. However, there is no way I want to see, chat, or hear from her. What she did to me was the worst thing anyone has ever done. When I was younger, I would have kicked the hell out of her and crippled that asshole alongside her rather than simply leaving. No, son. I will not meet or call her. She can live the life she has created for herself. Do not bring the subject up again." Lucas stared at me for a long time. He appeared to puff up, turn red in the face, and shouted at me, "You always were a hard-headed old crap. I'm going to try one more time and then I'm leaving. Mama had received enough punishment not only from you, but also from her employer. It has to stop, Dad. If you can't put aside your hurt and pride to help her, screw you, I won't be back. And it will be a cold day in hell before you see your grandson again." When he finished, I got to my feet and stood gazing down at him. Lucas stood up to face me, and I looked up at him. Lucas is 6'4". I am 5'8". I'm just as hard-headed as you, Pop. You were a good teacher. One of the things you taught me was that if I thought I was right, then screw the world and go for it. That's what I'm doing. It's the only thread that might work with you. Okay. You shithead. I'll contact Layla tomorrow morning. Now, can we have a few beers and watch my girls play naked volleyball? You seem come back to normal. Not as dangerous. I'd love to stay, but I need to pick up your grandson from after-school care. Not sure. In any case, watching that redhead jump around didn't bother my heart. How do you do it given your age? How are you keeping up with them? My heart is pure. Therefore, I have the strength of 10 men. Bullshit, Lucas said, laughing at me. No, seriously, Pop. How do you keep going like this with your heart problem, son? The new medicine has given me a new life. It's almost as if I don't have the issue anymore. I know it's still there, but I'm not obsessed with it anymore. My life is so much more fun. What with the money and the ladies that I actually don't give a shit how long it keeps on. I just want it to keep on. Every morning I get up and decide it's going to be a nice day because I got up and I'm above ground. Okay, I guess that's all anyone could want. I've got to go. Call Mother, please. Lucas waved as he walked back to the truck. A little aside here. When Lucas graduated from high school, Layla and I promised to buy him any car he wanted. We put it on hold until he got out of the Navy. He then chose a pickup. The men in my family seem to have a thing for pickup trucks. It was too late that day to call Layla, so I decided to do it tomorrow morning. Bullshit. I was just putting it off because I didn't want to call her at all. My two darling invited me to join them skinny dipping. You cannot keep the public waiting. So I ran and jumped into the pool. I'll let you two imagine what happened the remainder of the evening. It's mid-morning, and I can't put off the call any longer. Lucas had already called this morning to remind me. I grabbed the phone and called Lila's number, hoping for a message that she had left town or something. "Hello?" Layla answered. She sounded like an old lady. I know she is 63, but she sounded like 103. Her voice seemed lifeless, like it almost took too much effort to communicate. "Hi, Layla. It's me, Alexander." She seemed very surprised. "I didn't expect you to call me after the last time we saw each other. I had been really tough on her in the attorney's office when we signed the divorce papers. Yes, Layla, it's me. What's this nonsense about you not eating or taking care of yourself? Diplomacy is not one of my strong skills. It just doesn't seem to matter anymore," she said. "The company fired me, which took the wind out of my sails. You have been very generous, but I need something to keep me going beside money. My employment made me feel useful and necessary. Now I don't have you or my work, so why bother? You have your son, grandson, and pals. You've always wanted to travel. Now you can. You have the money and the time. Isn't that enough?" I was starting to worry about her. I've never heard her. So down. "Wait. What do you mean you were fired?" "They claimed I had broken company rules. Fraternizing with another employee is against the rules. So they paid me a large severance package and fired me." Layla began crying, sobbing. "Really? Settle down. Layla, stop blubbering. I can't understand you. Did they also fire Ethan?" "I do not know. They just mentioned him as the employee I was with and hustled me out of the building. I had 30 minutes to tidy out my office and go out after 20 years with them. They gave me 30 minutes to get out. 2 security personnel were observing me and escorted me out. I was beginning to smell a rat here. Layla may no longer be my wife, but I'm not going to let those idiots disrespect her like this. Okay? I understand that after her affair, I shouldn't care what happens to her. She was my lover, wife, and best friend for 30 years. And even being the asshole that I am, I couldn't just forget that. So sue me. I'm a simp." I felt that one of the difficulty that Layla and had been the company's lackadaisical attitude regarding the things going on at their meetings. The jerks decided to get rid of Layla to cover their butt. Not on my watch. They had no idea how much trouble they were in for. It's nice not to have to worry about a job or money. It would allow me go balls to the wall against them. They couldn't hurt me, but I could sure hurt them. I will mess up their world. Totally. Layla, I need you to promise me that you will take care of yourself. Beginning now. Your youngster needs his grandma. I'm going to look into you getting fired and discover exactly what is going on. Do not give up, okay? Will you promise me? Okay, Alexander. I promise to eat breakfast, shower, and change clothes. Will you call? Or better yet, come see me. Please, I'll drive down in 2 or 3 days. Layla, I have to do some legwork and see what I can find out. Take good care of yourself, and I'll call you again tomorrow. After we hung up, it was all I could do not to go postal on those assholes at the company. First things first. Let's see if good old Ethan is still working for them. I searched up the number of the company's office and called and asked for Ethan Bennett. I was connected to his secretary, therefore the a-hole wasn't fired. Only Layla was let go. "Ethan Bennett is speaking." He answered his phone. "Hello, Ethan. This is Alexander. You know Layla's husband. Remember me?" "What? 2. How? He stuttered. What do you want? Nothing much. Ethan was just wondering how much dancing was going on at university these days. Oh, and by the way, why are you still working there? And Lila got fired for fraternization. That wasn't my decision, Alexander. I had nothing to do with that. It came from higher up. I did not want it to happen and attempted to prevent her from getting fired. But they would not listen to me, Ethan. There is only so much bullshit that a person can spout. And you just went over your lifetime quota with that comment. You were full of shit. I called to give you and that garbage part company a warning. You jerks are going to pay big time for what you did to Layla. I mean, huge time. She may join the company before I'm finished. Screw you, Ethan, and all of those assholes. Your butt is mine. I slapped the phone down. I was so angry. No. Pissed off. That I could feel my heart beating. Calm down a hole before you have a heart attack. I told myself some deep breathing exercises. Calm me down. Now time to plan and take them down. My next call was to my attorney, Steve. During our divorce, he and I became excellent friends. I contacted his direct line and explained what had occurred to Layla. Do we have a case, or has my mouth been writing checks I can't cash? That's correct. You, or rather Layla, has a great case, Steve answered. Why are you in the middle of this? I mean, the last time you saw Layla, you didn't care if she survived or died. At least that was the way it sounded. I understand, but I was very hurt at the time. My pride was bruised and all that shit. After all this time, maybe I have grown up a little and decided I have been in a hole long enough. I will get our expert in sexual harassment on this right now, but I will stay close and help out. How much do you want from them? Alexander? He sounded like I had just handed him the keys to the vault of Fort Knox. Believe it or not, Steve, it's not about the money. That pack of hyenas just picked the wrong person to screw with. It irritates me that these assholes are shitting all over Layla. If they do it to her, they will. Or having done it to others, they won't anymore. If I can stop it, I will. You guys figure out how to hurt them and let's kick some buttocks. I'm on it, buddy. Talk to you soon. As Steve was hanging up, I heard him shouting at his assistant to put on his roller skates that they had a great case to work on. My phone started to ring the minute I hung it up. Hello? Yes, this is he. No, I am not going to talk to that shithead. It was Ethan's secretary phoning for him. Tell him Layla's attorney will contact them shortly. Also, tell him to eat shit and die. I hung up before she or Ethan could say anything else. 1 week later, and I am sitting with Layla in her apartment. She looked thin and washed out, but she had done her hair and makeup. She seemed pleased that I had come to see her rather than calling. Her voice seemed full of life again, not the monotone I had heard a few days ago. Layla was not at her best, but I was still delighted to see her. Guess I simply a softie after all. I miss my friend. I missed us not so much the sexual side of our life, but the friendship and enjoyment of doing and exploring things together. I explained to Layla what Steve and I were trying to do. I told her you probably won't get your job back, but the company will be punished for what they tried to do to you. I trust you to do what is best. Alexander. Thank you for your help. I have to go now, but I will call you every few days to advise you on what is going on. If it's all right with you, I will drop by to see you now and then, okay? That would be wonderful. Please do, Layla responded. As the case went on, I would see Layla about twice a week. We would go to lunch, even a couple of dinners, and just talk and enjoy our time together. Funny, but we never seemed to talk about the lawsuit we were working on. We were usually too busy talking about our son and grandchild, about memories, and about brief implantation. 3 months have gone by and the case has been settled out of court. I was again at Layla's apartment. She now looked more like her old self, animated and full of life again. Still not back to normal, but close. Oh, about the company. My old pal Ethan was sacked, along with 3 of the upper-level management types that had been involved with Layla being fired. Payback is a bitch, and I got to be the paymaster. Layla, it's like I said, Steve couldn't get your job back. It was expected. However, he did get you a very nice settlement and a written promise to review the company's policies regarding sexual harassment in their workplace. I took a check out of my pocket and gave it to her. This check is for $1 million, Lila said in amazement. Yeah. Steve went for the quick fix. The corporation also paid Steve's bill. So that is all yours. I appreciate everything you and Steve have done for me, but it wasn't for money. You give me more money than I need. I just need to feel useful and want it. They took that away from me. I still don't have that. Meet me tomorrow, Layla. We will discuss where this can go. Then I left Layla and returned. The next day, when I saw Layla sitting across from me at the cafe, I noticed a faint glimmer of hope in her eyes. It made what I was about to say even harder. But I knew there was no other way. She seemed almost delicate, fiddling nervously with her coffee cup, waiting for me to speak. I took a deep breath. Leaning forward, my hands clasped on the table. Layla, I have been thinking a lot about this, about us. I started, my voice steady though my chest felt heavy. Her eyes widened slightly, as if she was expecting me to say something encouraging. I hated that I was about to take that away from her. I need to be honest with you, I said. What happened between us? It broke something in me. Something I don't think can ever be fixed. Trust is. It's the cornerstone of everything. And without it, we just end up hurting each other again. Her face fell. She opened her mouth to respond, but I held up my hand, gently signaling her to let me finish. I don't think reconciliation is possible for us, Layla. As much as I care about the memories we've shared, the good moments, I can't see a future where I trust you again. And without trust, what do we have? Nothing that could last, nothing that wouldn't eventually poison both of us. And the children, too. Her hands tightened around her cup. Alexander, I know I hurt you. I realize I betrayed your trust. But people change. I have changed. And I would do anything to make this right. I sighed, feeling the familiar pull of her words, but knowing I couldn't let myself go there. I have no doubt that you mean it, Layla. But this isn't just about change or apologies. It's about the fact that I'll always carry the weight of what happened. It'll always be there between us, no matter how hard we try to ignore it. And that is not fair to either of us or the children. Her eyes glistened, and for a moment I thought she might cry, but instead she nodded slowly. So what should we do? She asked softly. We concentrate on the children, I added, my voice stern but not harsh. That's what matters most. We'll meet when we need to talk about them, but anything beyond that, it's not healthy for any of us. I'm sorry, Layla, but this is the only way I can move forward. She gazed down at the table for what seemed like an age before nodding. If that's what you need, Alexander, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll respect that as much as it hurt to see her like this. There was also a strange sense of relief. I'd said what needed to be said. When we left the cafe, I felt as if a weight had been lifted, even if it wasn't easy. Layla and I slipped into the groove of being courteous at best. We saw each other at family events, birthdays, school plays, holidays. At first it was awkward, but over time it became bearable. I could see she was trying her best for the kids, and I appreciated that. Eventually I started dating again. Her name was Sophia. Smart, humorous, with a good heart. It felt easy with her in a way that I hadn't realized I needed. When Layla saw us together for the first time at one of the grandchildren's school functions, I got a glimpse of something in her expression. Sadness? Maybe. Regret. But she didn't say a word, and neither did I. This was my life now. Here's the next story. Jenny and Mark had been married for approximately 20 years. Their son and daughter had departed for college. This gave them more time to enjoy each other. However, Mark had recently developed a weird hunch that something was not right. Jenny, in the last few days, seemed a bit restless and looked away when he talked to her. It had began the day he had seen her having lunch with a lovely man. They had not behaved intimately, but she had not admitted to eating this lunch. She said he must have mistaken her for another woman. He knew he had not. So why didn't she reveal the truth? If she had lunch with a customer or a colleague, she could just say so. Why the secrecy? So one day after dinner, Jenny wiped the table and Mark made coffee while lounging in the lounge making small chat. Mark asked what was on her mind. "You have been so disconnected recently, Jenny. What is going on?" She looked down, and after being silent for some while, she resumed talking. "Before I met you, I had a crush on a boy named John. We attended college together, but not in the same courses. We didn't have the same friends. I just met him briefly, a couple times, and to be candid, I did not much like him. But, in an incomprehensible way, I was drawn to him twice. I was about to go all the way with him, but we were interrupted by someone, and we never made love. Both times, I had a strange feeling that I had missed something, which I did not enjoy. After graduation, we parted ways, and I met you about a year later. I fell in love and forgot all about John. That is, until a few days ago. John started to work for our company, and I met him in the lunchroom Monday 2 weeks ago. This is incredibly tough for me to confess, Mark, but meeting him upset me tremendously. I felt drawn towards him in a way I could not fathom. As I mentioned, I don't like him as a person, yet there is something about him that is impossible to resist." She paused to collect her thoughts before continuing. "The last few days I have been desperate. I try not to be around him, but it is quite difficult. I've been thinking about this scenario for a few days now, which is why I've been so disconnected and probably difficult to live with during the past week. I have a lot of conflicting sentiments. I love you, but I crave John. I am already in a lot of emotional trouble. But Mark, I need to get this out of my system. I'm planning to have a brief romance with John. I'm sure that after a few weeks, or at most a couple of months, I can get over this mad passion I have for him and get back to my normal life. Mark, please understand that this has nothing to do with my affection for you. It's purely physical, like an itch that needs scratching." Jenny was now extremely agitated. She was trembling and flushed, and looked at Mark with her heart in her throat, awaiting his response. I sat still, not believing what I was hearing. There was a tension in the air, almost electrical, as I approached the point of explosion. I was really mad indeed. Jenny was in between a state of hope of me understanding, and most likely a scary feeling that I might not. The thoughts raced through my mind, and as a guy with a fairly long fuse, I calmly counted to 10 in my head. Had she misread my politeness and moderate manner to the point that I would embrace the position of cuckold? Did she have so little regard for me? I just saw images of my beloved Jenny lying on a bed while John was pushing his rod deep into her, and she was enjoying the screwing, asking for more and harder. I hated the imaginary image and had great difficulties being calm about it. "Please, Mark, say something," she asked. "Jenny, please understand that you just shot a bomb. Don't expect me to have a reasonable response to such a statement right away. If I understand you correctly, you just stated that you intend to have an affair with another man. You did not ask my permission. You simply mentioned you intended to have this affair with John." There are two potential responses to this. Either I say no way I will accept this, or I say okay, and turn my blind eye to the fact that you date and have a sexual relationship with another man for a number of weeks. How can you think this is beneficial for our marriage? As I previously stated, Mark, all I need is for this itch to go away so that I may devote my full focus to you without distractions. Don't you see this? No, Jenny, not right immediately at any rate. I really love you. And I had hoped we could be old together with a lot of good and pleasant memories. So instead of saying anything in haste that we may regret later, I advise we go to bed and think about it. I won't be able to sleep peacefully, so I'll spend the night in the guest room and consider your statement. I will give you my reaction tomorrow evening after dinner, so we don't speak about it until then. But Jenny, Keep your distance from John at work tomorrow. If he approaches you, find an excuse for not meeting or talking to him tomorrow. Let it be clear that you are too busy and that you only have time for him the next day. This is not, I repeat, not a request, but an order. Is that clear, Jenny?" She nodded her head in agreement to my proposal and order. And with a hug and a kiss, we went to bed, Jenny in the master bedroom and me in the guest room. Jenny just lay there thinking for a spell. I was extremely nervous when I announced my intention to have this affair. He needed to understand that if I didn't get rid of this itch, it would drive a wedge between us. But I could see in his eyes that he was hurt and angry. Did I do the right thing? I cannot go behind his back, which would certainly break us apart if he then found out. I did not tell him the truth about the lunch I had with John, and I think he now understands that her thoughts were in turmoil, as she in one moment hoped he would come back tomorrow and say, okay, and in the next, got an uneasy feeling he would forbid her to have anything to do with John. What should she do then? Comply or defy him? She finally fell asleep, leaving a restless sleep mark. At first, I believed I was fully awake. Jenny's comment was shocking, and I had to find a way out that both could live with without regret. If I said, okay, go ahead, I would be a cuckold, both in my own and in others' eyes. That was not acceptable. Just the mere thought of it made me upset. If I told her no way, she could comply and avoid John. Or she could go ahead with her announced affair, and the marriage would then certainly be over. The possibility of losing Jenny frightened me. We had invested so much in each other, and I did not want to let go of her, but I would not accept the role of a cuckold if she did comply with my intentions. We'd still have our marriage, but her unfilled itch would linger for a long time, possibly forever, and cast a pall over our relationship. It was a hopeless no-win scenario. Should I suggest a long holiday to rekindle our love for each other and hope she would get over this itch? What the hell should I do? I was awake for hours, devising various strategies that, when analyzed and evaluated, revealed flaws. Then I got it. This was the route to take. I turned around on my other side and decided I would sleep on it. I'd discussed the idea at work in the light of day. I might not get much work done, but I would get my secretary to reschedule tomorrow's program. At last, I fell happily asleep. We conducted our morning ritual as usual. Both had shadows beneath our eyes. Jenny, on the other hand, had the advantage of having cosmetics and could cover hers up. Not many words were said, and we went off to work with have a good day and a kiss. As predicted, my work that day was woefully ineffective, but I don't think anyone noticed except Pat. She did reschedule my day, so I got a lot of spare time for my thinking, and I ordered her to not send through calls unless she felt them really necessary. I arrived home at my normal time. It looked like Jenny had amputated her day because she was in the kitchen preparing a dinner more elaborate than on normal weekdays. It was perhaps her way of indicating that she cared about me. The lunch was well prepared and delicious. We ate with less chatting than usual, and it was quite obvious she was nervous. We drank our coffee in the living room, and once we were settled, I cleared my throat and looked at Jenny. "I assume you would like to hear my response to your statement from last night." She nodded, and I continued. "I gave it a lot of thought, and to be honest, it was the most difficult decision I've ever made. I considered your request or announcement and have decided that I am willing to consent to your affair with John." She smiled broadly and stood up to offer me a hug. I lifted my flat hand towards her as a sign for her to wait and said, but not unconditionally, "I understand that you can have a wish to be with another man, and I am prepared to give in to your wish. However, you should also know that during our marriage, I have met a number of women that have given me quite obvious signals that I could have them in an intimate way. I have never fallen for the temptation since I hold our marriage sacred, but I have wondered what it might be like. Would it be a different experience, better or worse? So here's the deal. You move ahead with your endeavor with John. You don't tell me anything. You do not bring him into our home, and you will be discreet. In this moment, I shall sleep in the guest room, and you will occupy the master bedroom, and we will not sleep together or make love in those weeks or, as you put it, 2 months. I shall remain away from all other women and be the faithful husband. When your itch is done, you will request me to move back to the master bedroom. That will be your signal to me that the affair with John is over once and for all. Are you with me this far, Jenny? She nodded, and I continued. I returned to the master bedroom. But you will then take the guest room for twice the number of nights I have spent there. You will stay faithful to me, meeting no man outside our normal social activity. He, on the other hand, shall be free to meet any woman or women I wish during your stay in the guest room. I will not be asked to tell you what I do or who I meet. I will, as you have not brought a partner to our house. When I told her about my condition, I could see her face change from happiness to question to sadness, and I even saw a small tear. Jenny, before you say anything, I'll give you the same 24-hour period you offered me to accept or decline. But when you give me your answer tomorrow, please make sure you know what you are doing. Jenny sat wondering when Mark said okay. I was filled with tremendous love for him. I just knew he was the type of man who would see what was best for both of us. Then he continued to give his conditions, which surprised me. It had not occurred to me it would have to work both ways. It dawned on me I had been utterly selfish, and I nearly started to cry when I saw in my mind the image of my lovely husband in the arms of a beautiful woman as I heard him talking like it was far, far away. I thought about him and me and all our lovely moments together. What did I do? What can I do to undo this situation? I was lost and desperate. The mere few minutes he used to explain his issues felt like hours, our life together, past review. And I did not think about John for a fraction of a second. He was fully gone from my mind as dew and brightness. Jenny looked at Mark and said, I don't need 24 hours to think through this. I've already made up my mind and accept your proposition. Mark looked at Jenny with disbelief. He had never expected her to agree to his requirements, and her swift response was a tremendous shock to him. He had no interest in dating other women, but he had assumed that the prospect of him doing so would make her understand that an affair with John would be a horrible idea. He was clearly mistaken. John meant more to her than he had expected. In a blue note, he heard her continue talking, but he was like in a ball of cotton. Mark, are you listening? He listened. Yes, Jenny, I heard you accepted my proposal. Yes, Mark. But I did say more. I requested you to return to the main bedroom tonight. I will instantly shift my belongings into the guest room. I do not wish to spend more than 2 nights there. Mark, I love you. I have been selfish, and I deserve to stay there the next 2 nights. I will not ask what you anticipate doing the following 48 hours, but whatever you do, I deserve the pain. Just what I inflicted upon you. Please, Mark, return to the master bedroom. I looked up at her and smiled. I hear you, and if you prefer, I'll return tonight. I was just fascinated with all the attractive women I could pursue in a few weeks. But you're only giving me 1 day and night, which of course will limit my choices. That's okay, Jenny, but I can already tell you I will be late tomorrow and not home for supper. I was relieved and quenched my immediate wish for her to remain in the master bedroom and not use the day given me. But I was evil enough to wish the suffering on her. She had given me epilogue 1 year, and 2 days later, I walked up from the basement with a bottle of Dom Perignon, 1993. I had stored it for a suitable opportunity. Jenny asked what the occasion was, and I told her that it had been a year since she returned to our master bedroom. She kissed me lovingly and said that my approach to solving her problem simply demonstrated that I was a good judge of character and a smart guy. In addition, being mild and gentle, I opened the bottle and poured 2 glasses, Jenny explained. 1 year ago, I returned home smelling of Channel No. 5, a perfume you dislike. You spotted a lipstick smear on my collar, which was not your color, correct? Yes, I did, but I never mentioned it because we had reached an agreement. I won't try to persuade you. I didn't care or like it. I hated it, but I earned it. I loved you then. I love you now. I was a fool. I love you, Jenny. And even if I'm not supposed to tell you about that evening, I will, whether you like it or not. You recall one of my good clients, Philip Carter, who comes to visit us every year. He is in town now, and I have invited him to dinner tomorrow like last year. He has brought his wife, Sharon. So I'd like you to join us. Last year, he told me that he brought his wife on the same day that you detonated your bomb. So the question of you joining us suddenly evaporated magically. I went out without you, and we had a lovely evening. Before leaving, I asked Sharon if she could give me a spritz of her perfume, retouch her lipstick, and kiss me on the neck. She agreed, and Sharon and Philip both wondered what it was all about. I told them it was a bet, and not the truth. Jenny's mind was working overtime, so I continued before she could say anything. I really wanted you to believe that I had a fling with another woman and caused her pain. I knew that you had had one intimate encounter with John, and I was hurt. But I don't care anymore. I'm sorry I hurt you. It wasn't necessary. So, please forgive me. We are also people, and those who never make errors are either emotionally unavailable or untrustworthy. Saints, I desire a woman full of love and emotion. I do not want a saint. But please don't do a thing like this again. Jenny's eyes welled up with emotion as she gently grabbed Mark's hand and led him into the bedroom. She quietly began to undress, unbuttoning Mark's shirt and assisting him in removing his trousers. She knelt before him, her gaze locked on his, indicating a strong connection with tenderness. She stroked him, her actions intimate and soft, establishing a strong emotional tie between them. Feeling the intensity of their proximity, Mark carefully raised her to her feet and they hugged, sharing a long, meaningful kiss that revealed their profound affection and love for one another. Their love was deep and sincere. No words were exchanged, knowing that they would grow old together. P.S. What happened to John? His wife Susan divorced him. He lost his job and became overly involved with a coworker. However, this is not actually relevant to the plot. In addition to losing his work, he lost his social standing. Because Susan was the primary provider, he had to relocate and is most likely now seeking targets in a small town. Thank you for listening to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also, leave a comment below to share your thoughts on what happened. Take care.